and all of them have played and all of them have started in the NFL before. So that's a good luxury to have. So we go into the game. Scat will probably start it off, but at some point we're going to rotate the guys, and someone gets a hot hand, and you leave them in there and let the chains keep moving. Let the chains keep moving.
And then you had the 2 running back package kind of unveiled the other night. What does that add?
It's another opportunity to get another playmaker on the field. We have guys in the room, like I said, all 3 of them can make plays. So if you can get 2 of them out there, that makes us more potent, more diverse as an offense. So that's just something we're trying to do, trying to give ourselves an advantage however we can.
What's the scat phenomenon been like for you?
It hasn't been much for me. I don't have to deal. Scat.
You have to deal with it more than anybody.
Scat's the one that has to answer all the questions. But listen, it's a tribute to really everybody on the offense. Like I think no greater sign of that was really the end of the game last week. 5 minutes to go. We're running the ball. Those guys are opening up lanes. That's not just Scat. That's the guys blocking for him. That's the tight ends. It's the offensive line. So it's been good for everybody.
I meant more like the personality, the constant woos and the constant, like putting his head down and running into brick wall kind of stuff. Like, what's that been like to be around as somebody who played the position
right.
and a teammate's doing,
Right. He's definitely a fun guy to coach. You don't have to try to coax energy out of him. He already brings that, right? He brings the energy and some intensity. I think his teammates appreciate that. We have other guys on the team do it as well, so I think they all feed off each other. But we knew that about him coming out of college, too. You saw it on TV, if you watched him play. So we knew he had some personality and some energy to him.
There's not a lot of guys on this staff who played in the league, so you did. So I was going to ask you, there's a little bit of chirping going on between the Broncos and the Giants, like social media. Social media probably wasn't big when you were still playing. But
no, not at all.
No, but just back and forth. Is that good? Is that do you like that kind of I don't know, whatever, the chippiness that goes edge?
To me, it really doesn't matter. As long as there's been sports, no matter which sport you pick, there's always going to be a little bit of chirping, whether it's outspoken or unspoken. The guys have something to say. But at the end of the day, everything's going to be measured on the field. So once the ball's kicked off, all that talking goes out the window. Whoever shows up and plays well is going to win the game. That's what really decides.
How has Tyrone handled a lesser role the last couple of weeks?
His attitude's been great. I know he's coming off injury.
Yeah.
So I think he's just happy to be back out there, excited to be back out there. We were excited to have him back. His attitude's been great. He's working, trying to get himself back in the rhythm, which I think he is. And he's ready to contribute however we need him to. So he's been great.
We preach about constant improvement, and I think the reality is of today's day and age, the way training camp is set up, a little bit less padded days, a little bit less actual practices before you're in competition. I think the expectations are to continue to improve through September and October, and with the goal of playing your best football at the end of October and November.
In the past, I feel like a starter goes down and kind of chaos has broken out for the Giants. I don't just mean you. I mean 10 years of the Giants. Schmitz goes down and Schlotman came in, and it seemed like everything just went according to plan. What do you attribute that to?
Tip of the cap to Schlotty, first of all, for just being prepared, which is not surprised. They laugh in our room. One of our lines is, we don't celebrate doing what's expected. All right, we expect Schlotty to go in. He's played a lot of football in this league. He's been an everyday starter in this league. So him going in and having success and doing well is expected. But it's obviously, you're happy to see it. We expect that with anybody, whoever goes in and operates. And I'd say that's probably a tip of the cap to our pro scouting and the front office of doing their due diligence and getting the right guys in the building that we can work with.
How big a challenge is this?
I'm just going to follow up with Schlotty of just him having this summer to kind of work on second team with Dart coming in and kind of does that help him in that situation, just coming in with the same QB at all?
I don't know if there's necessarily familiarity. I think they all kind of, at some point, it works itself out that they work together. I know those two are thick as thieves as far as around the field and the building.
How about this challenge of Denver's defensive line? Most pressures in the league, most sacks.
Yeah, I've had an opportunity, obviously, to coach against them in my time at the Raiders and a lot of the guys at this outfit and their defensive coordinator. It's as good a challenge as there is in the NFL, personnel-wise, scheme-wise, mentality. And then just playing there in Denver, that's a great environment. that obviously their fans know when to cheer. When I was at the Raiders, their fans outnumbered the Raiders fans at a home game. So we recognize that, we embrace it, and we're excited for it. It's fun to be playing some good, meaningful football. The guys are excited for the challenge, but have no delusions that it'll be a challenge.
How good's Illuminor playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, like we said before, back to the beginning about just the group, like your expectations are to continue to improve as you get through October, and I think you've seen that as far as a group, and that transcends as the individuals.
What right now? What is Evan Neal doing in practice? Is he guard, tackle? Does he do a little of both to be like a swing guy? What's he doing? Because obviously he's not active on game days, so we don't see him. Like, what's he doing to stay ready?
Yeah, he's practicing football. Does everything he asks of him. So. When his number's called, I'm certain he'll be ready just like everybody else.
Do you feel like he could go in at either spot if his number is called?
I think we've asked Evan to make the transition. I think he's embraced it and done it. And I would see him more as a guard. If I asked him to go out there and play right tackle, he'd go out there and play right tackle.
It seems like your group in particular has brought a particular edge to the lock. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Double meaning. To the locker room, to the attitude of the team. Do you feel that from them?
Yeah, I do for sure. And it's good to see. And I think it really just goes back to all of their dedication and desire to be great, and as a coach, anytime you can come back for a second year with a group of guys, that's a good thing. It's been a minute for me as a coach to have a group of guys for a second year in a row, so that's been nice for me. But these guys, it's just a testament to how good they want to be, how much they're willing to push for the guys that have been here, and I think you see that with Burns and Tibbs. They've elevated their game. And then Abdul's the same way. He's a younger guy, obviously, in his rookie season, but he's cut from the same cloth, wants to be great and willing to do whatever. So I think it's been a byproduct of that. I see it, feel it for sure, and it's been awesome to see.
How dangerous are the stunts that they run off each other?
They're pretty dangerous. They're all skilled. They're all highly skilled. So anytime you have that, it helps with what you can do. But just like anything in this game, scheme is a part of it. What you do is one thing, but how you do it is another. And they're all bringing energy and effort. And when that's met with their skill, I think you see what you've seen.
Carter specifically, how's he playing? Because I think we saw him in camp and everybody was like, oh, this guy's going to have like 7 sacks. We thought he was going to have the numbers Burns has. Yeah. He doesn't have the sack numbers, but I feel like he's disrupting the game.
Yeah. And that's, I think Abdul's doing a great job, and he's had some clean, wow wins, that we saw in training camp. Just for whatever reason, the sack opportunity hasn't been there. Sometimes the ball is out. Washington, going back to week 1, he had some interior rushes with quick wins, and the ball was out. On some of those stunts that he's been running with Burns or KT, he's doing his part, and Burns comes free, and then literally they flipped roles and ran the same stunt, and Burns came free on that one. So, that's just pass rush. Sometimes the production comes to you. To me, as a coach, as long as you're doing your job with technique and energy, the production kind of comes. But in terms of pass rush, it's about disrupting and affecting the quarterback, and he's done that. We all want sacks, but by definition, a sack doesn't mean you had a great rush. We just want great rushes, and we'll take our opportunities and take our chances, and I think the numbers will come for him for sure.
It feels like sacks are like the sexy stat, right? But he's been getting the pressures and affecting that, and so how much how would you kind of quantify to the lay fan who might be looking at that number and say, oh, only half a sack on the season compared to Burns, where in regard, like you were saying, Burns' sacks are kind of coming a lot in terms of those pressures as well?
Yeah, it's you got to take it with a grain of salt. Sacks are good, and finish is a part of that. And elite finishers, which Abdul is, and he was in college, elite finishers maximize their opportunities to finish with a sack. But, we watch sacks from time to time from around the league or in the off season, or just going back and looking at all of our sacks as a group, just to kind of remind ourselves how we've had them and that type of thing. And we always put a number to it, like what percentage would you say are clean, fancy wins that, look exactly like you drill it with a nice technique, and how many of them are just grimy effort, long sacks. And it's usually about 50-50 or 60-40, so there is an element of sacking the quarterback that just comes down to grimy, grinded out effort type of thing. And so there's always going to be that batch of sacks, and there's always going to be the clean ones that look great, on highlight reels. But we just got to keep going and giving effort and energy and technique, and they'll come.
You got back to my first question about the edge that they've brought.
Yeah.
You had, I don't know if it's probably made its way to your attention, but like Kayvon and Abdul both on Twitter chirped a little at the Broncos after the Broncos chirped back. You good with that? You like, yeah, guys, like stand up for Dart, stand up for our guy.
I mean, look, they're competitive guys, so I think they're just being competitive in that moment. For me as a coach, I always look to production being the biggest form of expression, so I focus on that.
Burns, we kind of knew he was playing at a high level in the spring, but to see him playing at like a defensive player of the year caliber, what do you attribute it? Because it's not easy, I would think, in your whatever it is, 7th year to find a new level. Like guys always say like 2nd or 3rd years when you go to a new level, and then you kind of stay there when you're a great player.
Yep.
He seems to have found a new gear midway through his career.
Yeah, it's just, again, going back to the group, but really his desire to be great and his willingness to do whatever it takes to be great. It's just been incredible for me to watch. And I said it, when we talked in training camp, he's had one of the most impressive off seasons I've ever seen from any player. And again, in year 7 for him to do that after he got paid, I mean, obviously he cares about that, but he got that, he got the money and that type of thing. And now his primary focus is being the best player he can be. I mean, and he really is committed to it. He's unselfish, he's disciplined, he pushes every day, he takes coaching. So to me, it's just a byproduct of his desire to be great and what he's put in. He literally has put the work in every day since we've been here in April. And even our conversations over the phone in the offseason, it's just been the mode he's been in from day one after the season ended last year. And it's been great to see it paying off for him and us.
You think any of that is, you get a sense from him that just tired of losing? Like he's here, Carolina, like he's a great player who hasn't really played in a lot of big games in his career.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it is. I think the primary driver is him and his personal willingness to or desire to be great, but then also knowing what comes with that. He's a leader at a premier position on defense, and I tell him all the time, whether you like it or not, you're going to have eyes on you in this building and, from this team because of the position that you play, and he knows that and he's embraced it. And I think he recognizes that a player of his caliber in year 7, he does need to bring part of that winning attitude, edge, accountability, discipline, and all that. And he's fully embraced it, and you see it paying off.
What do you think of the way that your safeties in particular have played so far together as a unit?
Getting better every week. I think Holland came in with a different, he's a seasoned vet, been playing since he was a rookie year. Coming in, trying to fit himself into our defense and be the leader that he's been before. I think he's done that part. I think us figuring out exactly how we wanted to use both of the guys, and instead of playing them just left and right. Newman, again, same thing, coming out, playing hard, being instinctive, trying to do all the small things, understanding that every week is a different challenge, understanding that I'm supposed to make the plays that I'm supposed to make, meaning that I don't have to strain and try and do anything outside of the defense in order to do that. So we've learned each and every week, continuously got better at that. I think understanding how you're being attacked every down to continue to get better at that. But I've been overall, they work hard every day at it. Starting to become that unison of being able to understand each other. Like that's from when I had Whitehead and Marcus, like all the guys that I've played with, Coach, Keanu, all those guys, like Ricardo Allen, like being able to understand the yin and the yang of the tempo between the two of understanding each other when you're playing on the field. Because it's like quarterback and receiver. But you're playing on the same side and understanding, I see exactly the way you see it. So it's been good and interesting, man, watching those two.
One of the biggest mysteries to me is Tyler Nugent was drafted. Obviously, you weren't here, but he was drafted here. 13 picks, I think, in college. Everybody called him a ball hawk. And I think he's only got 1 pass defended in his, whatever it is, 20-game NFL career. Why isn't he getting his hands on the ball?
Opportunity. Also fitting in, exactly. Understanding that sometimes he plays in the box, sometimes he plays in the back end. But it's opportunity. Just understanding the opportunities that actually come in between that. Like playing within the defense, not having to press to do anything different. Understanding that from that perspective. And you look at it, sometimes a ball get thrown, you catch it for 5 yards and I'd make a tackle. So it might not be a pass breakup sometimes. So understanding that. But I think for the most part, what he does understand is this. This is where he is now. How he's being attacked, what he has to understand on when I am in certain positions, getting myself in a position to now here it is, eliminate the explosives and make sure I make the plays that come to me and not have to strain to do anything different.
I asked Ladell this, I'll ask you this because you guys played in the league. There's some chirping going on between the Giants and the Broncos. Is that, and I can't remember the last time the Giants had that kind of edge or like fight back or whatever. Is that you played in the league? Is that a good thing when they're going into a game when teams are chirping at each other?
I played with Chad Johnson.
I know.
So,
Yeah.
I can say this, man. Playing with guys like that, that's a good thing for the league. You don't want to have a chalkboard, bulletin board conversations, but, this is football. At the end of the day, it's played between the white lines. But it's always good for the sport to see guys that are into the game, but they got to get played on Sunday in between the white. That was the obvious part with it. So it's exciting, but I tell the guys, you got to always focus on after Thursday, you know what time it is. It's time to lock in what happens in between the whites. Let's make it happen.
Back to Newman real quick. The one thing that showed up a few times seemed like on some of those big plays where maybe you didn't take a good angle. Is that something? How do you correct that? Like, what's maybe the coaching point there?
Always just tracking, man. It's just tracking. It comes from the beginning. I understand that I'm the last line of defense, and understanding that you never know how it is until you had to make that tackle. I had to make over 100 of them, and understanding that, you just got to understand that part of it. Knowing when you looked right at it, Holland had the same exact play right after. He made one. So understanding how to do it, understanding how to put myself in position, seeing the angles before they see you. That's the most important part. How do you do that? Being able to slow down. You got to understand where I am in depth perception, all those small things. Okay, I'm the last line of defense. I'm already back here. No one should outrun me when I'm already back there. So understanding that, and I think that comes with time. You're going to say it like, well, I got to make it right now. When you start to strain and think that you got to make it at the line of scrimmage, that's a lie. You can't lie. Like, you got to own the angle in which you come from. So I think that's been and we do, like I tell them, you got to do 1,000 tackles in order to make one. 1,000 tackles in a row to make one. So we try to do it exactly out here in practice. He makes them in the game, you got to make them all. That's the one difference between us and a D3 technique. You get out your gap once, it ain't no problem. Guess what? You miss it once, it's magnified. So, and I always tell them, Mike, you only can miss 0.5 tackles a game. What is that? That's not even a sack, is it? So exactly, you got to have that temperament, understand that. And it's not pressure. Pressure is for those that are not prepared. When you prepare for it, you'll be fine. So you got to make that tackle. You got to track inside the hallway. You got to track inside. You got to track when you're talking to the media. You got to track. You got to understand that. That's the importance of it at our position. So excited to see where he's going with it, man. That's the cool part.
How much of it is almost conceding, hey, at some point, convincing yourself the mindset, hey, give up the extra few yards there just to make sure that, I take the right angle.
Well, you guys just give us another blade of grass. That's really what it is. It's giving another blade of grass. It's no different than a guy get a fast break on the basketball. Right now, I know I may can foul him, but right now, if I can get in front of him and slow him down, pick the ball up to make him turn it back around, I got to understand that. Sometimes it's different when I'm right there at the goal line. I got to make sure I take my shot. But when we out in the middle of the field, you got to make sure you understand that. And it was the same conversation that I had with Whitehead. You're going to go through this and understand, like, here it is. Our job is just to get it down. That's our job. It doesn't matter what it looked like. I can't remember the last time I made a pretty tackle. Holland tackle was ugly, but it was great. And when you say it, like, yeah, you made those tackles. You just have to understand that here it is. All I'm doing is this, giving us another down. We can talk about whatever else happened because nobody talked about how it got out. They're going to talk about how you get it down. And you're not going to be celebrated because they don't talk about Hollands. So You're not going to celebrate it. It's the same thing. It's like going to the line and making a free throw. You only talk about it when they miss it. But that's the cool part. And as I said, the expectations of understanding what the standard is. And the standard is we only can miss 0.5. And that's how we got to go in with that focus and that laser focus of understanding that we're different than a linebacker or a 3 technique.
Why'd you take that approach? Like, different guys, you probably handle differently. Why?
Right.
Why'd you choose that?
Because I've had guys like him in my past. I've been doing it a long time, and I knew that's what he needed. He was a big fish in a small pond, so he probably could do whatever he wanted to do, right?
Right.
And I had to get him to understand, you're a guppy now. You're not the big fish anymore, right? And so you got to do it the way that we want it done around here. And until you do it the way we want it done around here, you're going to stand next to me. And I don't think he probably ever had anybody say that to him. And I don't think he believed that it was going to happen being a third round pick.
I know this is probably the least of your problems. How do you handle Dex now, right? Because he's coming back from the injury. Then he had this illness, he kind of sapped him of his energy for the last couple of weeks. He's probably not playing up to
the level he's used to?
No,
You know,
I wouldn't agree with that statement.
okay,
At all.
you think he is?
At all.
You think he's just as dominant as he has been?
That's what I'm gonna say.
Like I said, this is the least of your problems.
Call our opponents. Call everybody we play and ask them if Dexter Lawrence is still playing like Dexter Lawrence. There's no other D lineman in this league that gets as many double teams as he does. Not even close. He gets them on passing downs. The reason that Burnsy is getting the production he's getting and 51 is getting the production he's getting is because they're putting 2 dudes on decks. So we got 2 guys getting one-on-ones because they're putting 2 guys on decks, right? And so, as a football player and what he does on Sundays, he's playing like Dex. I get it. People don't see the sacks that he had last year, and you think, oh, he's not playing up to his standard because he's not getting sacks. No, he's not getting sacks because he's getting doubled all the time. And he may get 3 one-on-ones through the course of a whole game. That may be 3 one-on-ones through the course of a game. Now, I know this, the sacks will come. He's going to get them because he's been close a lot. He's going to get them. They're going to happen. But for me to stand here and say Dexter Lawrence is not playing like an elite D tackle in this league, that's a big-time misnomer.
So you as a coach just say keep doing what you're doing.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Now, the numbers and everything.
Yeah, I don't worry about that. I don't worry about that because every sack he gets is a bonus for our team. He's a nose guard. Okay, most nose guards in this league are lucky if they get 3 sacks in a season. That's a hell of a year, okay? He's a different guy, right? You look on 3rd down, every nose guard is standing on the sideline with the coaches, right? He's the only him and Villa are the only 2 nose guards in the league on 3rd down that are still on the field. That tells you how unique those 2 guys are because they're the only ones that are still on the field. So, he helps our defense because of his presence and what the offense has to do to handle him. And it helps the other guys on our defense be successful. And for me, I look at it and go, okay, this is what I envisioned a year ago once we got to about week 5 or 6 and we were having all those sacks and Dex was killing everybody. Then they said, we gotta handle this dude.
Right.
Okay, well, the other guys weren't producing at the rate that you would like for them to do. Well, now that's happening for us. So eventually it's going to switch, and the protection will go to those guys, and Dex will end up getting more one-on-ones. And that's what you have to do as a coach.
When you talk about the hard coaching that you've done with Darius, what does that actually look like? If you're comfortable giving us a little bit of insight into the process, I guess.
I guess it's not me cursing him out, you know what I mean? It's not me, yelling and screaming at him at the top of my voice. You've been around me, that's not my nature, even though I do get mad every now and then. But it's more just about being stern and being straightforward on what I want and me not veering from that at all. And get him to understand that, okay, it's going to be this way. It has to be this way. And staying strong with that. And because I stay strong with that, then eventually he sees that's what he needs to do. And don't get me wrong, it's not unique to Darius. I don't want anybody to think that it's unique to Darius. It happens a lot with rookies. Yeah. It happens a lot with rookies, and especially when they come in with a lot of high expectations. They're a big time where they played. They expect it to be exact same way when they come here. But this game is different for D linemen than college football.
Probably asking the same thing. What have you seen from Jackson? Just over 3 starts and how he's handled the moment.
Yeah, he's handled it well. I would say kind of how we expected him to handle it, just from getting to know him through the process and him being here for the last few months. He's done a good job with it, continues to work hard, continues to ask good questions, prepare the right way. So happy with what he's done, but we talk about it all the time. We're happy but not satisfied.
How?
Go ahead, Dan.
When you make a change like this, obviously you have confidence in the guy that you're going to, but has anything surprised you? Is it after a few weeks here that stood out to you about what he's been able to do and how he's almost changed the course of the season here?
No, I wouldn't say anything's been surprising. Just again because of his character, his work ethic, how he approaches things. Surprising, no. I think you never really know, obviously, when the guy's going in, but just based on the work we did with him through the process, and then him being here for the last few months, you know, you had confidence in what we were doing, like you said.
You can't really coach someone to be a leader. You know, sometimes you hear that you either got it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen from that side of things for his evolution the last couple of weeks? Because you talk to guys in the locker room, and that's one of the first things they bring up about how he leads and his style.
Yeah, I think that, again, referencing the process with him, that's something that we kind of picked up on early on with him. I think going back to his college days at Ole Miss, and just knowing a few of the guys down there, that's what they said too. So again, it was something that we felt strongly about with him, and his style is great. He knows how to go to every guy in the locker room, you know, offense, defense, special teams. You know, a guy from Florida, California, the Northeast, you know, he can talk to everybody, and that helps. I think, you know, when you are the quarterback, you have to be able to have that reach, and he does.
Is there a sense now of, obviously, you know, you put 3 games on film, people are studying it more, you know what this league is about.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's always that anticipatory nature of, okay, what are we going to counter when they try to stop what we've shown on tape? How much of that is an evolution from your position at quarterback and what you want to do, what you can do, and maybe not getting too far ahead of things because you just don't know how people are going to attack you?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there with the full question. You know, you're always trying to stay ahead and evolve, but also still do what you do well, and not try to overdo it. I think you just kind of keep that thing in the back of your mind and adjust as you go, because you can't plan for everything, no matter if you're a 10-year starter or a rookie. Everybody's always trying to adjust. Everybody's always trying to change things up on you. So you have that in the back of your mind. You talk about it and make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's with all the plays that you have in. And hey, if they're going to go ahead and do this, if this is how they're going to adjust, then maybe we get to X, Y, or Z. I think that's a constant conversation with the quarterbacks, no matter who's playing. Especially, yes, with a rookie who there's not a lot of tape out there, you got to be cognizant of that. But again, you don't want to overdo it, like you said.
When you play a team like the Broncos, do you say to him, hey, we got to, I mean, you always want to get the ball out quickly, but like, do you say to him, hey, we can't be doing too much in regards to using your legs like that? It's not going to work against these guys, or do you just say, hey, just play your game?
I think there's, again, not trying to give like a cliche answer, but there's a balance to that, because there are some strengths of ours that we got to play to, and not always just go in and say we can't use those. So it's situation based. It's, you know, the flow of the game, how are things going. You have those conversations, yeah, but you don't want to take anybody's natural instincts away from them by putting that into their head too much. It's a really good defense, like you said. It's a great challenge for us, and I think you know, we've prepared that way for them, just talking through all the scenarios. And you know, when it comes time to kick off, you just go out there and let your instincts take over and play. And then I think he has a good feel for those things.
And with Russ, what is he showing you that makes you confident that, you know, he's still a good backup quarterback? Because it's obviously different when you have to come in the middle of a game. It's not something I think he started all 220 games of his career before, like the last couple times he came in.
Yeah, Russ has been great. He's handled it like a pro. He's prepared like a pro. He knows, you know, it's a shoelace away from playing. So if, you know, Jackson gets a shoelace, he's going to go in there and operate the offense at a high level, like I know he can.
Is it a difference to come in the middle of the game compared to when you're so used to starting? Is that like an adjustment that you look at, or as a coach?
I don't want to speak for him necessarily on that. I'm sure it is, but I think he's had the right mentality with it. He's, like I said, he's asked just as much questions still, and probably to help as well, you know, preparing and being ready to go. So I don't think so for him. I think he's got the right mentality for that.